This week's episode is brought to you by the CommuniTour, the greatest week you'll ever spend with the greatest online hosts. That's me and George, just in case you forgot. Go to www.fairygodmothertravel.com, click on special offers, and then the CommuniTour to receive your no-obligation quote for this once-in-a-lifetime experience. Space is limited, so email today.
Communicore Weekly. Come on and get geeky. We bob around boats and five-legged goats. Communicore Weekly. You might catch some freaking. You waited all week. I'm sure you already know that it's the greatest online show.
Hello and welcome to Communicore Weekly, the greatest online show and home of the world's first pair of independently born identical twins. I'm George.
And I'm Jeff. You know, last week we kind of stepped outside our comfort zone and we did an entire episode dedicated to the new DAS card that is coming out. And we got some really good responses from people about it. So we got a lot of great stories, a lot of great comments, and we loved hearing them. So, I mean, thank you to everyone for writing in and calling in and telling us your experience with it.
Exactly. We know this is a hot button issue, and honestly, we have a lot of faith in Disney that they're going to do the very best that they can. We've heard a lot of great stories, very emotional stories from people about their vacations, how wonderful they've been, and how they're a little bit nervous about their next vacation. So we've heard some great things. Don't hesitate to email us more. Leave us more comments. We really appreciate and love hearing what everybody says about it.
Yeah, exactly. And, after the program actually starts and is in play and we know more about it, we'll probably do a follow-up episode and we'll play some of the voicemails we got and read some of the comments. So thank you for participating in the discussion, cadets. We really appreciate it. But on that note, let's get on with the rest of the show.
Step, jump, and skip. We took a trip, and this is our trip.
So over the weekend of September 28th, I went to Knott's Scary Farm for the MiceChat Halloween Haunt event 2013. And this was the first time that I went to Knott's Scary Farm. And I had a lot of fun getting the crap scared out of me.
I was going to say,
all night long.
Fun getting scared.
It was fantastic. So, for those of you who have not been there before, and I know some of you have, they have mazes. They're called mazes. They're not actually mazes. There's only one that's an actual maze, but they're haunted houses that you walk through. There's different themes for each one. They have 11 of them this year, and I pretty much loved 10 out of the 11 mazes that they had. But for me, growing up in New Jersey, I would always go to Fright Fest at Six Flags Great Adventure. And I was used to their level of Halloween events. And then I went to Knott's Scary Farm last week. And I've been missing out my entire life, apparently. Because this was probably one of the greatest events I have ever been to in my entire life. So if you're in the Southern California area, before I even go on, go to Knott's Scary Farm anytime. Even if you don't go this year, go next year. Because it's totally awesome and totally worth it.
So this was a big MiceChat event, though, right? Sort of like the first one of the season?
Yeah, so there was over 200 people that came to the event, which is a lot of people to, keep around the entire night. So we had dinner in the chicken restaurant at first, and we had some of the designers of some of the mazes come, and there was a brief interview with them, and then Fishbulb led us into the fog, quote unquote, because there is a lot of fog there. Like, Ghost Town is covered in fog, and you literally cannot see in front of you as you're walking. So we had lighted swords. He was in the front, I was in the middle, and somebody else was in the back. We all had them to try to group together and get through all the mazes. And it was called the Death March because it was pretty much, we're going to this maze, we're going to this maze, we're going to this maze. Otherwise, we never would have made it through or made it to all the mazes in the night. Like I said before, each one had its own particular theme. And I have to say, my favorite one was the first one we went in for the night, which was Black Magic, which is themed to Houdini coming back from the other side. And, he brings all these other crazy things with him, too. And it was just a great way to start the evening. It was my first Knott's haunt walkthrough, and it was just unbelievable.
Did you guys do all 11?
We did every maze that was there. Every single maze we went through. By the time, I don't know, I would say 5 or 6 mazes in, there was one particular maze, it's called Delirium, that I walked out of, and I turned to the people I was with, and I was like, I don't know if I can do this anymore. I am legitimately, like, that one really messed me up. I walked out going, I can't, I might need a few minutes, because that one was really messed up and scary. But all the mazes were great. Mirror Mirror was the actual maze one. It was a mirror maze, but there was, monsters in the maze that were trying to help you or deter you. That was fantastic. There was Uncle Willie's Slaughterhouse, which you can imagine what that was. It was a restaurant. In the back was, long pig, the best meat of all is what they serve.
Wow.
Gunslinger's Grave was one set in the Old West. Trick or Treat which was my second favorite. You actually rang the doorbell to get into the maze, and the door would open, and it was a house that the Green Witch lived in, and her tricksters lived there, and it was so bizarre, but it was the most visually appealing maze I have ever seen in my entire life. That one was a lot of fun. There was also one called Forevermore that was based on a murderer in present times that bases all his victims on Edgar Allan Poe, which it was cool. It was not as cool as I hoped it would have been. That was kind of the ones I was iffy on, but it was still a good time. Pinocchio Unstrung, which was about an evil Pinocchio, that was pretty great too. Kind of a Disney connection there, but not really.
Well,
but,
yeah.
There was also one that was an upcharge that was called Trapped, and you went in 6 people at a time. You had to pay an extra $10 or $60, so it was $10 a person, and each room was a puzzle. So each room you had to figure out how to get out of and into the next room. And for me, it wasn't frightening per se, but it was a lot of logic stuff, and it made you do things. I don't want to get into specific in case people want to do this, but it made you do things that are outside of your comfort zone in a lot of ways. And I had to do things that were outside of my comfort zone, and I walked out of that one too going, I don't know how I survived that, because it was just one thing after another. Like, you have to do this, you have to do this once you figure it out, and it was just madness.
That was called Trapped, right?
Yeah, that was called Trapped, the New Experiment.
Now, I know you went with Fishbowl and Dusty Sage from MiceChat, and
yes.
Colby.
Yes, Colby was also in our group, and also Doug Barnes from Season Pass and the MiceChat podcast, and it was just... and our friend Jeremy went also too, who's also a listener, a cadet, a fan of the show.
Did they say how this compared maybe to other haunts? Because I know that Fishbowl was pretty much a haunt expert.
He is a haunt expert. He's actually, as I'm recording this, I know he's at a haunt thing right now. Last year was the 40th anniversary of the Knott's Berry Farm haunt, and when we had a discussion later on that night, for the most part, he had nothing but good things to say about all the mazes. There was one that he didn't like per se, and he thought Trapped last year was better than it was this year. But for me, as a first timer coming into this, I was totally blown away, and I want to go back. I want to go through these mazes again, even though it scared me. I want to go back and experience these things because I had so much fun doing it, and I really think you should come out next Halloween time and do this with me, because I think you'd have a blast, George.
I'll cry like a baby. So
that's kind of my plan. So
yeah, that's why I figured it wasn't, and then put it on Facebook. So there were 11 things. Do you really think, should people attempt to do all 11 at one night, or should they split it up and try to go over a couple different weekends?
If you do not buy, we had the Fright Lane Pass. It was part of the package, which meant we went to the front of the line. If you do not have the Fright Lane Pass, you are not going to do all 11 in one night.
Oh, so you need to pick and choose.
You're going to have to wait in line for, an hour or 2 hours for some of these mazes because they are so popular. So if you're going to go, to me, it's worth it to spend the extra money to get the Fright Line Pass to get to the front of the line, so you can actually experience all these things. And that way you can also see the shows, the hanging. Elvira's Cinema Seance was also there.
Wow.
Seeing Elvira was wonderful in person. I will just say that she still has it. I have to say that.
She still got it. Okay. So if people want your opinion before they go, they should just maybe email you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or hit you up on a social media, and you can advise them which one you enjoyed. And
email me at the Communicore Weekly email address, or hit me up on Twitter, and I'll be more than happy to tell you more about my experiences. But seriously, go. So much fun. Totally worth it. Do it up, guys.
He's a nerd, he's a geek, but we all like to hear him speak. So listen up to the words from his speech. It's George's Book of the Week.
So, Jeff, I know you don't like to discuss personal things during the show, but just want to know, are you wearing your lederhosen?
I am always wearing them at all times.
Good, good. And I know you're wondering why, but we're going to try to do some Disney mountain climbing this week.
Ooh, I like mountain climbing.
Yes, exactly. So, okay.
I don't climb mountains, guys. I'm lying.
I know. So I can just see you scaling Matterhorn right now. So, try it. Well, anyway, so this week's book is, I know, where'd that go? This week's book is The Disney Mountains, Imagineering at its Peak by Jason Sorrell. It was first published in 2007, September of 2007, and it's got 128 pages. And Jason Sorrell should be a familiar name to most cadets. He wrote the Haunted Mansion and Pirates of the Caribbean books, the ones that are the from the Magic Kingdom to the movies, and he's an Imagineer based in Florida and is considered one of the rising stars of the new generation of Imagineers. Ooh, so he's a rising star. Anyway, and this book is one of my favorites. And I know the cadets, you guys have heard this so often, but really it's true. Basically, Jason looks at all of the Disney mountains, their history, how they transform Disney parks and theme parks worldwide, and their story within the company itself. So, okay, the first mountain is Matterhorn Mountain at Disneyland, and Jason spends a lot of time on this section, and with good reason. You know, the Matterhorn was the first in so many areas. We learn about the initial spark for the mountain, how it was built, and the changes throughout the year that the Matterhorn's gone through. Through each section, we're introduced to the different Disney legends and Imagineers that made these mountains real. Each section is full of concept art, drawings, and really stellar paintings. Some of my favorite of the paintings are the ones from the different Splash Mountains all over the world. Jason did interview a lot of the Imagineers, and the stories shared are really wonderful. And there's not really another resource that looks at the Disney mountains in such an in-depth manner. Okay, so you might be wondering what mountains are actually covered here. So we've got Matterhorn, Space Mountain, both of them, actually all three of them, Big Thunder Mountain Railroad, Typhoon Lagoon, Blizzard Beach, Mount Gushmore, and Mount Mayday for those, Splash Mountain, Grizzly Peak, Mount Prometheus, and Expedition Everest. And there's even a few pages dedicated to Candy Mountain, which has recently been shown at Disney California Adventure. It really is a great title, and it's one that I'd like to see Disney or another publisher do more of. And maybe we'll see another edition in the next couple of years as Disney potentially could bring in some more mountains, maybe even one in Hong Kong. I think that's my only issue with the book, is it's just not long enough. But then again, I pretty much say that about every Disney book that I read. You know, they need to go on and on and on. So, and you know, Jason really is a natural storyteller, and he highlights a lot of the anecdotes from the Imagineers that really show how special the Disney mountains are themselves. And that's what makes this book so entertaining. Not only are you learning Disney history, but you're enjoying yourself too. Just like listening to Communicore Weekly.
Well done, sir. Well done.
I got to tie that in as best we can. So this one is called, it's by Jason Sorrell, but it's called The Disney Mountains, Imagineering at its Peak.
What we liked, what we didn't like, gays and the booze. 60-second review.
So for this week's 60-second review, we are looking at the Blu Ray release of The Little Mermaid.
Well, before you go on,
yeah.
Let me just mention that we're actually doing our regular 60-second review, not the actual 60-second review, because we think this warrants more than 60 seconds apiece.
Yeah. And there's a little bit of a shock value
45
with the
seconds.
other 60-second where we start panicking.
30 seconds. Yeah, we're not going to do that this week.
I forgot what I was going to say. No, but this is, of course, the first time on Blu-ray and the first time we've seen a release of The Little Mermaid in a long time. And, I have to say, this is one of my all-time favorite films. Sort of brought me back into the Disney loop after being away for a few years when it was released and seeing it on home video. And love it. Love the music. Love the characters. I know the story's got problems. I know some issues with it, but forced my 9-year-old son to watch it. He's like, "That's a girl's movie," and afterwards he's like, "That movie was awesome." I was like, I told you." So, Love it. Absolutely love it. And,
Yeah.
and I'm assuming you like it too, right, Jeff?
Well, I enjoy the movie a lot. I remember seeing it when I was a kid. I loved every minute of it. Watching it again, especially on Blu-ray, the only words I have for it pretty much are wow. Because, I hadn't watched it in a couple of years, and I forgot how good it was. Like, the truncated version of the story that we see in the dark ride now, that's what I'm kind of used to now. But actually sitting down and watching the movie and then seeing it on Blu-ray, just overall, the movie's fantastic. It looks wonderful on Blu-ray. It sounds wonderful with the new sound mix, and wow, again, that's what I have to say about it. Wow.
The orchestral score, which, we talked about this a while ago when we reviewed some of the Studio Ghibli films like My Neighbor Totoro. It felt like we're watching a new movie because there were parts I'd never heard before. And the background score by Menken shined in this film.
Yeah,
absolutely. The regular songs by Ashman and Menken were just, of course, ingrained into my soul. Absolutely love them.
So that alone, to me, I think makes this disc worth picking up for anybody. But on top of that, unlike some of the other re-releases we've seen lately, this one has a whole bunch of new special features on the disc, which I absolutely love. I love when there's new special features. I mean, it's a little less than 45 minutes overall of new special features, but still, I mean, they include all the old ones, of course, the stuff that we're used to from the DVD, but there's new stuff. There's one on Disney Animation that I remember George, you watched it, and you texted me immediately afterward.
Yeah, I was like, this is finally, we have a fantastic, bonus feature that wasn't reused. And basically, not to give anything away with that feature, but it looks at a lot of the current animators who got their start because of The Little Mermaid. That's the rebirth of, Disney's second golden age of animation, which I was really I was like, it was so well put together, such a good story.
The only downside to that feature was that it was too short.
Yes, yeah.
I would have watched a movie just like that, like a full-length movie just like that.
Just for that. And, they did Howard Ashman's lecture, which was a nice,
that
to
was
see Howard
wonderful.
Talk about, musicals and the importance and different songs and how you still have a formula, but how important large-scale musical productions are to a Disney film.
Yes, absolutely.
It's like Broadway. Absolutely amazing. And the only one I didn't quite get, and I had to go, was like, what in the world is they had Carly Rae Jepsen do Part of Your World?
Yeah, I didn't really understand that either.
I didn't know who she was at first until a few people said, "We'll call me maybe." And I was like, oh!
But they don't have phones under the sea. I don't understand why she's calling people. Anyway, that granted, but that really, they have Karaoke sing-along though, so that totally made up for Carly Rae Jepsen being on the disc.
I still cannot sing all the words that are under the sea.
I can, but that's probably from listening to Suburban Legends cover over and over again.
Oh yeah. That's a good point.
And again, I also like that they had the other older special features on it, like they still have that ride, the ride through of the ride that there was going to be before this ride was made. Still think that one would have been a little bit better, but it's cool to have this on the disc. And all the other deleted scenes and audio commentaries from the original disc are on there too. But
which is nice because sometimes it's been hit or miss when they've brought back the DVD features.
Yeah, but this had a strong DVD features to begin with, so it worked out really well for it.
Yes, it did. And it sort of makes me go back to the Little Mermaid ride or Under the Sea. Which it's a fun ride, as we mentioned. It's a good D ticket or C or D ticket attraction, but it's still such a disjointed story, even for the ride.
Yeah,
and I think seeing the Blu-ray again after so many years of not watching the film, I was like, it's still got a good story. It's still fun, wonderful music, wonderful comedic parts with Chef Louis. Is it Louis? Les Poissons. Yes. Mm-hmm. So, such fantastic parts. So, okay, I think we've run this into a few minutes with the review.
I'm going to give this an A++.
Yes, it's a fantastic transfer. Looks good, sounds wonderful. The magic is still there for this film, even after almost 25 years.
So basically, we're saying stop what you're doing and go buy this right now,
and then come back and listen.
Yeah,
because there's something special we're doing at the end of the show.
Yeah, so you better be around for it.
Yeah, I mean, I know we're not, Jeff, but that way they'll listen,
Hey,
right?
we fooled them, ha ha.
Shh, don't tell them, don't tell them. So.
Sometimes you might see it, sometimes you don't. Hey, look, what's that? It's a five-legged goat.
So at Walt Disney World's Magic Kingdom, on the floor of the fire department is a large wooden circle, and it's actually a turntable that was used before the department got a motorized fire engine. So when they still use horses, back in the day, the engine would have to be pulled into the station, and then the horses would be unhitched, and then the engine was turned around on the turntable so it would be facing the right way for the next emergency. So very clever of those firefighters, and very clever of those Disney Imagineers who put it into the Magic Kingdom.
Exactly, because I'm wondering what year did they switch from horses to the motorized fire engine at the Magic Kingdom?
I don't know. That sounds like a question for Bob Gurr. We'll have to ask him that one.
Well, boys, I was like, I could hear the beginning of the story right now.
Yes.
Right now with that. So
We'll bring him on for that one, I'm sure.
and it'll tell us some other incredibly amazing story.
As per usual.
That's what he does. Exactly. So, well, we've made it to the end of another episode. We'd like to thank you guys so much for listening to us or absorbing us somehow. However you ingest Communicore Weekly, thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. And after you're done ingesting us, which sounds kind of gross now that I think about it, but when you're done, please leave us a comment or rate us on iTunes, because we love reading the comments and the emails and everything on iTunes as well.
Exactly. And don't forget to email us at communicoreweekly@gmail.com with any questions or concerns. If you want to tell us some more of your thoughts on the new disability system. Boy, that wasn't right. Disability system? No. The DAS, they're calling
DAS
it.
is how it's called, yes.
We're more than happy to hear what you got to say on it. So email us at communicoreweekly@gmail.com.
Yes, and be sure to like us on Facebook at facebook.com/CommunicoreWeekly.
Yep, and you can follow us on a couple social media spots. Both of us are on Twitter and Instagram with the exact same logins, which is pretty exciting, or usernames. I'm at Imagineering, and he's at Jeff Heimbach.
And you can also call us on the Communicore Weekly hotline at 424-785-4628. That's 424-785-4628.
Yes, and remember, that's how you can get a Communicore Cadet button. Leave us a voicemail.
Leave us a voicemail.
If we use it on our show, we will send you a button. So for Jeff Heimbach, I am George Taylor.
And for George Taylor, I'm Jeff Heimbach. And if you made it this far, we don't have a secret ending. I'm sorry. We lied to you before. Regardless, thanks so much for listening. We'll see you next time on Communicore Weekly, the greatest online show.